Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of our Tech Talks. Today, we're going to talk about something very important, cyber recovery. As you can see behind me, got a little hacker. He's going away. They're on the increase, especially in the last year or so, where they're attacking your data and you're not able to recover it. So today, our topic is cyber recovery. And with me today, I have a specialist in that field, Scott Arsenault, who's been working in data protection and security for about 20 years or so. And he's going to take a few minutes and talk about our solutions that we have that will help you as a customer protect yourself from cyber attacks. Scott, take it away, my friend.
All right, thanks, Peter. I'll go ahead and get my screen shared up. All right, you see that?
We can.
All right. All right, we'll go ahead and get right into this. So here's the agenda we're going to be going through today. Cyber threats in the environment, what's going on out there, some of the things that have changed recently, some common misconceptions people may have in regards to protecting their data from malware attacks. We're going to go through a resiliency continuum, good, better, best sort of scenario, what cyber recovery is, what you need from a critical rebuild list, and what's out there available in the market today. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So the current threat environment, years ago when cyber attacks first started happening, they were attacking home users, and it was primarily denial of service, locking your computer up, things of that nature. But then it evolved into what it's today, because the people deploying malware got smart and found that they could actually make a business out of it and extort money out of the businesses. And that's what's gone on today. So one of the things that kind of changed more recently, not only are they encrypting your data and holding you at ransom to get the encryption key, but they also steal the data. So if you choose not to pay the malware, not only are you encrypted, but then they take your critical data and they share it out to the world on the internet. So that's one of the more recent changes that have gone on in the space today. So state of ransomware today, a couple weeks ago, one of the largest healthcare organizations in the United States, Universal Health Services, was hit. They had over 400 locations go down. They were down for a period of 4 days, and they are back up, but they are still recovering. Another one that had happened recently, a cyber gang went ahead and attacked a hospital in Germany. That particular hospital was not able to receive patients because the systems were down. So that woman was diverted to a hospital 20 miles away, added 40 minutes to the actual travel time. And unfortunately, she passed away due to that. Also, this one here, as far as over 500 schools were attacked in 2019, that's continuing to hit and go up because of the pandemic. There's a lot of students at home, and it adds another way that the hackers can get in and get after these schools. And then I'm from Florida. This is one that hit last summer. A small little city here in Florida called Riviera Beach. They were attacked, and they had to pay $600 for the ransom. So one of the misconceptions people have is they think of people deploying malware or in a basement somewhere overseas and deploying this. There's actually corporations built around ransomware. So it's like a real business. So there's companies over there that produce the malware, and then companies like Evil Corp, listed here on the screen, they will actually buy the malware, and then their people within that organization will go ahead and attack the schools, attack the healthcare, the financial, and things of that nature. So it's actual real business over in Iron Block. This came up recently. I thought this was interesting. So this is a bill that's being worked to be passed, and what they are actually doing is the Treasury Department is going to put steep fines on companies that actually pay the ransom if this gets passed. So it's kind of a catch-22. You either pay the ransom, get your data back, and then get fined by the Treasury Department, or you don't pay the ransom, you don't get your data. So it's a sticky situation there. So ransomware attacks today, we've seen, there's reports out there that malware has gone up over 4,000% since COVID's been released. A lot of businesses have had to transition from people working inside of a building to working from home. They've had to deploy these environments very rapidly and have to properly be able to lock them down. And the malware people were sending out emails preying on the heartstrings of these folks, saying, click on this. Here's the latest heat map of COVID outbreaks in the United States, things of that nature. So it's definitely, we've seen a large increase in that space. So Dell Technologies Cyber Recovery Solution. So just kind of give you what most people have in place today. So this is the production environment over here on the left. And what happens is you got remote desktop access users going into the environment. Once that's breached, the bad guys are in your environment, and you generally don't even know it. These guys are in your networks for, on average, 180 days before they actually detonate the malware. And why it takes 180 days is because they are going through, scoping out your entire environment, doing an IT atlas. Many times they'll know your environment better than you do. So when it's time to detonate, they've already deleted the backups, encrypted everything, and have your data offsite somewhere. So that brings us to misconceptions today. Common ones here I have on the screen. People think if their data is encrypted, the bad guys can't read it. Well, that's true, but they can delete the encrypted copies. More security. It doesn't succeed every time. Like I said, they're getting very sophisticated and smart how they're getting into the environment. A lot of times they're actually disabling their security, and you don't even know it. Tape backups, yeah, that's the ultimate air gap, but the problem with that is it takes a long time to recover, and a lot of times tapes are unreliable. Traditional DR, bottom left there, traditional DR really just makes the problem worse because they get into that environment as well, and they encrypt and delete your data. And then retention lock, it's a step in the right direction, but isn't an end-all be-all. Cyber resilience continuum. So we've got kind of good, better, best. Good at top, best at the bottom. So traditional, that's the good. Most customers are doing this today. They have a dedicated backup appliance, and they're replicating the data off-site. Better, they're adding retention lock, they're encrypting the data, and then the best would be the air gap solution, which we're going to go over next. So cyber recovery solution, we saw this. This is a similar slide from before. This is your production environment. This is a data protection appliance, data domain in this case. And then we have a dedicated vault appliance in its own separate rack with one connection in. And that connection is controlled through something called cyber recovery, which we'll get into here a little bit more. And then as the slide builds out, you can see you got your disaster recovery site, remote users, and things of that nature. So essentially the vault, what it's doing here for you is it's a managed solution, fully automated, and it's opening and closing the air gap between the production data domain and the cyber recovery data domain. What it does is it establishes the connection, turns on the NIC from inside the vault on the vault data domain, it replicates the data, and when that last piece of data comes across, it then severs that connection. A few other steps we'll get to later. The stuff we have is a data diode. It can send data out one way into the production network, so you know that the air gap has been established and the data has been protected. But in the next slide, I'll get into a little bit more as far as what we do. So once the data is sent over to the cyber recovery vault data domain, we have something called an M tree, which is basically just a file where we keep the data. That replicates it over to the destination vault, so that data is copied. And then once it gets over there, then it creates a copy of it, like a snapshot. And then from there, what we do is we apply retention lock. And retention lock is native feature of data domain, but more or less what it's doing is making that data immutable. It cannot be changed until the date of expiration. So some things we want inside the vault, you're going to want an additional server running Dockers. That's what the Cyber Recovery Vault runs on. You're going to have some additional services and things inside where you can actually start the recovery of the data. Build this out. So it's kind of shown here as the data gets replicated from production down to your production data domain. And then, it runs the scans and it sends the data out through the data diode. So one thing that really separates us from the competition is we have something called CyberSense. So it's good to have an air gap. It's good to have a mutable copy. But if you are ransomware, you've been protecting that tainted data for a period of time. So we have something called CyberSense. And what CyberSense does is it actually goes in and scans the data, looking for any slow moving changes and malware extensions to your data, and it will then alert you through the data diode that has found something. And it's really important you have that last known good copy of data, because if you are encrypted, you're just going to be restoring data that's already tainted with the malware. And again, this is kind of just the build out of what I talked about in the previous slide. And the company actually makes the CyberSense is a partner of Dell, and it's called Index Engines. That's the actual manufacturer of CyberSense. And next screen, this is just a screenshot of what our Cyber Recovery Vault software looks like. This is something we've been developing for the past 5 years. We are part of the Sheltered Harbor program, and we're the only manufacturer, in fact, that's in that program. So it's kind of a summary. What should you place in the vault? A lot of customers, they want to put all the data in the vault. You certainly can do that, but this is kind of a list that we've come up with of critical things that need to be in the vault. So the more data you have, the larger the vault you're going to need. A lot of people get kind of wound up around the axle as far as what they need to include. Certainly, if you have the capability to put all the data in there, absolutely do so, but these are the things you absolutely need to start the recovery process. And then finally here on the last slide, just want to showcase what we have as far as the differentiators between us and some of the other competition that's out in the market today. On the left here, we're showing the Dell EMC Cyber Recovery Vault solution. We're the only company out there that can provide an automated air gap to protect that data so they can't get to it. We can provide additional resiliency around retention lock, and we also support multiple vendors as far as data protection goes. Something a lot of competition can't do today. So with that, we're going to leave it here. If anyone has any questions, please reach out to us, and we can get the call set up and review anything that you may have. So with that said, I'm going to stop sharing, Peter, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Perfect. Hey, thanks a lot, Scott. Great presentation. Wow. It's amazing. You make it sound, you make it sound easy and simple, and for the most part, I guess it is, right? Once you rely on Dell Technologies to really help you take care of your security, right, Scott?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, like I said, we have the only fully automated HTML5 GUI interface that's actually managing the air gap. No one else has that in the market today. No one has the capability to do full content scanning of your data, providing a 99.5% accuracy in detecting malware. And we also have services that we can stand up and help you even build out workshops, run books, everything you need to recover from a ransomware attack.
Great. So I'm going to put on the screen, how do you get in touch with Scott Arsenault and Peter Leduc? So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great, Scott. Really appreciate the presentation. Scott's phone number is up here, data protection specialist. Covers a large area, from the Carolinas down to Florida. Myself, I'm in Florida. Peter Leduc, you got my phone number. Again, thank you, everybody. We really appreciate your time today. We really appreciate you, having concerns and relying on us to your cyber recovery